Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Flo.
Florian.
How are you?
How are you
Hi,
doing?
from San Francisco. Just came
Yes.
back.
Yes. I wish.
Um, so, um, it was a longer conversation we had in the last episode than usually we had. Interestingly, we had the two technical guys, Maxime and Hugo, discussing about more technical stuff regarding something that is actually key. And I hope that I think Maxime will join a little bit later. Maybe if you can ping him, that would be good to talk more about feedback and the importance of feedback in AI, because it's really, really not easy to trust the system at first. And the key topic of the feedback and why we give feedback and how feedback is interesting is the trust aspect of things. So I guess taking the angle of why we need a feedback through this trust issue is probably the best thing that we need to keep in mind. And when you work in AI, how do you provide the efficient trust system so that things can work for your users? So you have all experienced, guys, this thing about trust and hallucination in the ChatGPT interaction that you got, right? Can you share about that?
Yeah.
Can you share about a few interactions that you got and you were like, what the F? What is he saying? Have you got something in mind?
I think like interactions when used that make me like whatever in a negative way, maybe not. But like sometimes it actually on kind of a positive way because like what the app they can do this, that kind of thing. Like you can imagine like it already gone that far and everything.
Yeah.
Like on doing the research and everything, but then you're gonna like what the F again and you when you see the price of that thing as well. So that is a double F. I mean, yeah, but it does definitely every once in a while. I mean, it gets and I'm actually like reading an article, and I was just the other day, and I just thought like ChatGPT actually just launched like last year, November 2022, and I just think, wow, within a year, a lot of things going on around ChatGPT, and it really, if you think about it, it is also a what the F kind of situation. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's been about when I've asked ChatGPT to help me solve like really complex math stuff, and it answered wrong, and I'm like, okay, what
Not
happened
good.
here?
Not good
So
at math.
no, not good at all. Not at all, and it's like counting like just different steps, and then the answer is about something completely different than what I was expecting, and I was like, okay, I've understood. I cannot ask about math stuff and to solve them because obviously he can't, or he or the computer text that can't solve them for me. So that was a really what's the F moment for me, and I got like really bad answers.
Yeah. He's not good at math at all. And that's because it's a text-based thing. But it's getting better. And we're going to talk about, I think, a little bit deeper into the why there's so much stuff going now across like more multi-modal systems, because you have one which is good at text, one which is good at math, one which is good at another thing like writing code. And you have models like Mistral. So it's a French AI research lab, and they have created this mixture of experts. So the idea is like you have multiple models that are good at specific tasks. And so when you ask a question, actually ChatGPT 4 works this way. You ask for something, and then it will understand from your question where, on which sub-experts inside the model you should go. And that nobody really knows this, because OpenAI is actually closed AI, the real name, so you don't know what they're actually doing behind the scene. But the mixture of experts that this Mistral open source, again, French-based company can do is like they actually show, okay, we have 7 experts, or I don't know if it's 7 or how many experts there is inside their system. There is multiple ones. And so that's enabling the interaction with what we call multimodality, like good at image, text, code, video, different modalities, different mediums, different like topics. So that's the one thing. And you remember what we've done for the, like what we discussed about reinforcement learning with human feedback, the thing that OpenAI went through by having like people checking if it's good output or not, and then validating and reinforcing the quality of the outputs. Then imagine that you need to do that for all of the modalities, for math, for text, for image generation, for code writing, for everything. So you need that sort of like reinforcement learning from human feedback at a higher level, but it's super hard to scale and to make sure that it's good. So that's why they are putting it in the wild. They are letting us figuring out if it's good, and they are hoping like to get the feedback. But for the open source models, they don't have the feedback loop. They don't have the organization as OpenAI to get the feedback loop. So there is a difference between the OpenAI models, which are still like the best ones, and open source models like Mistral, but they are catching up in so many like technical metrics to say like, oh, they are at the same level as OpenAI, but they eventually don't have the reinforcement learning and all the process that OpenAI has been through. I mean, I don't know as much as probably Max on this, but I think that that Mistral and the open source model, they don't have that amount of reinforcement learning probably. And interestingly, we can probably look at this graph. That is for me the first thing to think of when you think about AI and you think about human feedback and user needs. It's making sure the user feels good about the interaction is this thing. Then there is other things that we will discuss, but this is the first part. So basically you have a prompt data set. So you have many prompts, like many different topics, like how do you cook eggs? And you would like prompt how do you cook eggs and see if the how to cook eggs is actually good. That's a funny example, but that's what you get. You put that into a model and you check automatically if the answer is consistent. And then you have the outputs that are scored by humans. So you see the positive, negative points, like the thumbs up, thumbs down you have inside inside ChatGPT. This is probably what they also use internally. And this gives you the reward model. I mean, the version that is combining the base thing and the human feedback to create a better output. So yeah, as I said, if we think about feedback and user needs, that's the first part. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Do you know, Max, if they do this thing for the open source model?
No, really, I
No,
don't.
I don't know.
I don't have
Yeah.
knowledge on this.
Yeah, we should probably check it out. So, do open source models have RLHF? Yeah. Stable Vicuna. I think we need to deep dive on this. We don't have, that's a good question actually to figure out. A framework for open source RLHF. They're talking about it as a technique to fine-tune language model incorporating human preferences. Preference can be broken down into 3 stages. The lack of open source RLHF model is a problem. See? That's one topic. And I think Mistral don't have, because they purposefully don't want to do it, so that anyone can fine-tune, create their own layers and do the stuff. But Mistral is now, like, as I said, they have raised, I think, 400 million, just like crazy amount of money. But to put
a bit less, but yeah,
to
almost
them,
4.
Yeah, at the level of OpenAI, technically. I mean, if you compare the drugs, like I said, if we think about AI labs, like OpenAI and all that stuff, like pharmaceutical labs, as of today, so we are at the beginning of a new era of, AI development. So it's like drugs when we started the pharmaceutical industry. Now we have the labs that create the drugs, and they don't test the drugs until they have like distribution and figure out. And so OpenAI is trying to have the drug, the manufacturing of the drug, the distribution of the drugs, the retail of the drugs. So OpenAI is trying to do it all, the distribution thing. And Mistral is kind of just doing the labs and the research and putting the drug out, and then letting the community distribute it to a different part of the ecosystem of people who needs AI. I mean, that's how I see it, to simplify my mind map of the current ecosystem. I don't know if it's relevant to you guys, but I think it's helping to compare it to another industry, like pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, it's like a layer. It's like a layer cake. So
Yeah.
like Mistral, it's still like early days of OpenAI where you had raw transformers. Maybe like, I don't even know if Da Vinci had any RLHF, maybe not. And then they started adding RLHF a lot. And then we got GPT-3, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool. Like, it's cool to have access to an open source model like Mistral. So because we know that the raw model is very efficient without like any RLHF. So it means that then you can play and do the unbiased or the bias the way you want.
I mean, do your own
which is
RLHF,
which is
basically.
cool.
A company should do
Yeah.
their own RLHF, essentially. Like,
Yeah. So then you can like narrow the
is it me or Max is lagging?
I think it's Max.
It's Max. Okay. Yeah. So
I have a question. I have a
Yeah,
question, Jeremy,
go ahead.
about the system. I'm just, how in the loop is it, like, where is the human part that is checking the, and where is the feedback coming in, and who is like checking the feedback in the system, and how? Okay, I just don't get the loop.
Yeah, I understand.
If you want, understand what I mean.
I understand. From my knowledge, and again, we don't know it. We say it every single time in the post. We don't have the full picture of the thing. But from what I know, is there is literally people sitting in their desk every single day, looking at the raw model and saying, good, not good, should be like this, should not be like this. Like hundreds of people doing that job. For how they made the model good at coding is they hired a lot of developers to write the code and create the data set. And then this was the trained model. And after, they had another bunch of people checking if the code of those guys who wrote the code to create a data set were actually good. So there is like physical people, like there is hundreds of people that are actually doing it as their job. Is that a new information you didn't realize? Like, is it something you didn't
No, I didn't. Exactly. It's really new information for me, because I didn't understand that it was real people, like how we just sitting, like looking through these stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me that makes it a lot more, how do you say, I'm more convinced about it because now I know there's real human in the loop.
Yeah.
So like it's not just data going through layers of data and more data. So
Yeah.
like
There's always people in the
it's
loop.
new information.
Always.
It actually funny. Like I remember, I think I read an article long ago. Like there was a dude who actually made millions of dollars, like outsourcing cheap labor to do this kind of task to the
Yes.
US, and he actually become like a billionaire already.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. 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 So there is a lot of like low cost country that are hired, like that are like used, and the people are from those countries are used to that purpose of micromanaging the feedback from the AI. I remember 3 years ago when we started checking at this, we had a guy that was working on micro task on AI system. Just they were on the screen checking if the AI was doing good stuff. And that's very similar to probably what we can see in moderation on social media platform or stuff like that. There is actual people that are watching to make moderation on those kind of things. So that's very similar, basically. You get the information, you moderate, and then you have a new version of the application that is better suited for human. So that's for RAHF.
I have a good like something funny about that. I don't know if you recall, but a while back, I think it was Google, I'm not sure, but the CAPTCHA. So you had to enter CAPTCHAs. So you have to like you had to describe like what was on the image, and usually like the last one, they actually didn't know. So you were still like filling the information, and then this was being built and used to build a data set.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't know what's on this image. So the first one, like it's the validation. So I don't know, like if there is a dog, you must say, okay, there's a dog. And the second one, maybe I don't know, it's a bicycle, but they didn't knew that, and then they used reCAPTCHA to have human doing that for free for us,
Yeah,
for them. So
that's
it
why
was
there is
crazy.
always human in the loop, because we were working for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was trying to find an article like yeah, there is article saying kind of, yeah, you're actually working for Google for free. We've been working for Google for free for years. Validating this stupid like signs when we sign up to train AI. That's reinforcement
It was
learning,
very
basically.
smart.
This is reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
Everyone did a bit of reinforcement learning at some point just by using internet.
That's why we should all be paid money to go on Google and help them. Like, you see, if they have accumulated that much money on their balance sheet, it's because the money should have been in our pocket at the first day. We just love doing that stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, they are smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was smart. But then in another way, then you realize nothing is actually free. Like they said, Google is free, internet is free. No, you actually work for them for free.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. So that's our LHF. Now, what else? So now the model goes in the wild. We test them. We saw that they are not good at math. So we have those model expanding to mixture of models. So like multiple experts. That's where it's going. The other stuff where it's going is RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. And that's another way of narrowing the AI to a certain set of information that is not part of their original training data set. So imagine that you have like the training data set, the output, you go to ChatGPT, you have another entity that comes into the play and that kind of like narrow depending on the question that you ask, and that inject information in between you and the base model. So that when the base model is coming, it's taking only like his ability to create language, and relationships, maybe a little bit to make a logical chain of words. And it's using information from another source that is trustworthy, that comes from your source of documents. So that's how I would describe RAG. And it's the thing is, it's still constrained by what we call, and we said many times now, the context window of an AI system, that you can only have so much information you ask the AI. And so we are just making a query, getting only the essence of the information, passing this very essential information so that the conversation become more trustworthy. So for example, you want to, let's say you want to know about, you are a legal company, you want to know about like the latest legal stuff that happened. You have so many legal documents, and you want to make sure that what you are suggesting is tied to a legal document that already happened. So you may want to have a corpus of legal announcement into this RAG system, and then ask what happened for, I don't know, women's right in the USA for abortion, or I don't know, whatever comes to my mind. So you will have like those documents scanned, retrieved on a specific topic. So if it's a woman, let's say being inclusive, let's say like it's like lesbian or something, like how they, I don't know how they, the narrow topic of abortion in the context of a specific subset of people. You want to ask a question and know if women in a certain condition and certain like aspect of the legislation apply to them. So you will ask that question, it will retrieve the information. That's why it's called retrieval. And augmented generation, meaning that you retrieve and you augment whatever comes out to create a sensitive output. That's how I describe it. Is it good enough as a description, Max, for like a global, like high level introduction of what this is? Because I want also to make the bridge with the knowledge graph and all that stuff after that, and I'm not sure I'm able to do the combination of the two, because there is another stuff which is, once you have this RAG and you want to combine it to more accurate stuff, you need to use other tooling. But maybe I'll let you speak, Max, on this. You're more knowledgeable than me on that.
Yeah, so RAG is really a mechanism more than like what's the underlying technology. So RAG is really, like, most of the time what we do is we take the user prompt and we use an embedding algorithm, which is could be an LLM. Like, for example, for OpenAI, it's I think it's a DaVinci, or I don't want to, but they used, yeah.
On this, like, you know, when you say embeddings, it's basically you take the corpus of text, like the legal document, the example of the legal document, you transform it into ones and zeros, basically. You know, remember, it's all binary code machines. It's like zeros and ones. You transfer this into, it's a condensed, compressed information.
Yeah, but like what's in this one and zeros, it's really like you pass them the text inside a model, a deep learning model, and this one will get out this suite of like one and zeros, and each one and zeros is actually like a meaning, like how close it is to be a dog, how close it is to be a flower, like. And so it's what we call a vector, but it's not a vector in 3 dimensions, but in a lot of dimensions, like hundreds. So that's how then you have in space like the meaning of a sentence. And then you have also, like with your legal documents, you will have chunked the document using the same algorithm. So now you have stored all of those vectors in the database. And when the user like put a prompt, what you do is you take this, you embed it with the same algorithm. So it's very important to use the same. Otherwise, like, you will have like wrong results. And then in space, you can look for like which other like embeddings documents or the closest. For example, there are multiple algorithms that you can use, but but you will try to grab like what's very close, like the close vectors. And from like you will get them, and then you will get like what was the content of them. And then you will add this to the prompt. So then now you are able to add more detailed information. And you don't have to put everything in the pre-prompt, but you have things that are related to your prompt in terms of meanings and knowledge.
I see.
And the RAG, yeah. So and then, but for the RAG, like there are a bunch of things that you can wire in the backend. Yeah, you can wire like SQL database, knowledge graphs. You can do a ton of things, and the LLM can. You can have ways for the LLM, for example, to generate SQL queries. We talked a bit about that yesterday. So then when you do that, like, I don't know, like if you want to know all, like what was the evolution, for example, of abortion in the US, right? So with the RAG mechanism, like you can let it choose, like, for example, I don't know what will be, what the RAG like will be doing, but if you say, okay, just find the 3 nearest neighbor of my vectors, then you will have 3 documents. So then the answer for the LLM won't be very like global in terms of like it won't have the full picture, because it will just have like 3 documents plus your question plus its internal knowledge. While I think at some point you want to make sure, okay, like to be able to ask, okay, how many documents there are in like the legal stuff referring to this specific topic. Then you want to be sure that you have a way or a mechanism in your RAG that the LLM will select to grab all of those documents and add them directly inside the pre-prompt, because you want to have everything. And then like you want to, like he will be able to do the right thing. But like most of the time, like a big issue is the chunking, because you cannot like when you do the embedding of course, like you need to chunk your text. Like you cannot like embed like a full book, for example. You will have to chunk the book. So that's also an issue, because then when you get back the original document, you might lose some data. So it's also very important to, like, you need to understand how it works and how the LLM is answering you to really like know if the LLM is actually like just trying to make you happy and giving an answer. Like at some point you still need to try to understand what's happening like under the hood, because it's a very good liar, right? The LLMs that I mean, it's very difficult to know when they just bullshitting you.
I just want
So
to share this
at some
much
point
because it's a funny topic. Like,
yeah,
there is this
okay,
known case where you have a US lawyer that admit like using AI for research, and so the judge was like, so the lawyer said it was unaware that the content could be false, and he used a case and said like, oh, this is the case. The case didn't ever exist, and it's the thing that happens when you don't have the understanding of this technology and knowledge. So the knowledge, so that's out of the RLHF, right? That's the what we talked for 15 minutes was just to get to the point where it's getting trustworthy, but it still can be a liar. So now you can add, you need to add the RAG, you need to add the vector database, you need to add the knowledge graph. Every of those technologies we are not able to deep dive on today because it's too like complex and probably yet too technical for that. But the idea is like those technologies that are adding up, they are here to do only one thing: increase the trustworthiness of the outputs.
yeah, that's a huge deal actually. And I mean, if I were working in a legal firm and I had access to ChatGPT, like, or an LLM, and I could ask like a technical team or like anyone else to build me something, I think like the best LLM that I could get is an LLM that will write me an answer as a paper research with citation, like where everything will be, oh, I got this information from this document at this line. And then you can get what the LLM is saying, and then you have a way to validate the information. Because right now, like, you don't have any ways, I guess, to validate that it's not like bullshitting you. But maybe this will come at some point, because yeah, no, I won't talk about this, but I mean, with cryptography and etc., like, maybe there will be some signatures in the documents and what LLM is actually like saying, so then you can verify that everything is like trustworthy. I don't know if at some point we'll be able to have this kind
I
of
think so.
like,
I think so.
that will be awesome.
What we found out,
Yeah.
guys, like for us, like as far as we are concerned. So what we found out is, like, as I expressed yesterday, if you in the last episode that we had, when you inject information in the context window, so in the length of a message you can send to an LLM, and you bring like a data set, a small data set that is prepared by you, like Florent is doing when he's querying databases and querying those things. If you only inject that thing, it like gives a reliable answer. Like, it doesn't say anything else than the thing that is in the document, because it's the narrow, limited document. When you want to search across many documents and you don't have the pre-processing of the data that Florent is doing in the backend when he's building the data products, then you're in the situation where you need to figure out where does the information come from. Because right now, with the techniques that we use to build ABI and to build that stuff, we are okay as of now to be using the injection of just the data set inside a conversation. But tomorrow, when you want to do queries for different things altogether, it's going to be a much harder task to figure out where does this information come from. If that makes sense, you get it. It's a question of how much quantity of data you want to request. If you just put a limited small data, you can have quite reliable thing. If you want to query big chunk of information, harder.
Yeah, also you should play with the temperature parameter,
Temperature is another thing.
which allows you to say how much you want the LLM response to be logical, or if you want it to be very like creative. So based on what you want, sometime you might want it to be very creative, or sometime very logical. I don't think, like in the legal film, that it will make sense to be very creative, unless you want to play and see like what's going out. But I think you want to be very logical, because like legal document, it's a bit like code, right?
Yeah,
And
code is low.
it's really, yeah, it's the same. It's just different people, but
Yeah.
like it's kind of the same.
Yeah, I don't know where I
So,
picked this sentence, code is low, but I think there is, I read it somewhere, like people were already saying that.
but the issue, like I think I'm not a user of ChatGPT, so I don't really know. But I used it at the beginning, but then I only like tied to like using NAS or the OpenAI Playground, because I have way more control. But I thought at the beginning, like, I don't have, like, you don't have access to the temperature. Like, and if you are a lawyer and you want to play with it and you're not aware of this like temperature thing, and you have like poor, like very low knowledge, then yeah, of course, like you can start using it and trust it, and yeah, bad things happen.
I never remember. Zero is not creative.
I think zero is logical.
Zero is logical and one is
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah.
It is.
So if it's, and I don't know, I think by default, even in the OpenAI Playground, I don't know if it's still the case, but it was like 0.7, so still a bit creative. I think it's really like to get a good experience, like if you were talking with a friend, while because you don't always want to talk to a lawyer, right? Where it's very like when you read a legal document, like it's very logical. And it's not really pleasant to read. But yeah, you need to be able to play with that. And I think like at some point in us, we want to make that easy to like to set, and to know like, okay, what's my temperature level now? So because actually on each question, like based on what you are asking, you should like you should reflect on yourself and like maybe say, oh, this temperature is too high, maybe I want it to be logical.
Yeah, at each message, like be logical for now, build this thing, then be creative, create that stuff. Like for us, like with Bazira, we see when we do the research on the topics that we do here, for example, it's like sometimes you want to say, give me all the information that you have about that topic. Right now, you cannot really do it. So it's Google. You search on Google, you find the articles. But if that would then be like good, you want to have all the articles coming down, then you want to create a post to announce the discussion that we have. And so to do that, you want to switch from like very accurate oriented mode to very creative and entertaining post creation, and all of that in the same conversation. Wouldn't it be cool? Like Bazira, you see what I mean? Like it's definitely in our workflow today. It's definitely something that I can relate to.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree with that. And also, like we talked about today, when I said like after taking help from like Aya of like creating things for me, it was a huge difference than before because it was more like creative and like how to say daily language or like me saying it. And before it was like just taking a textbook, reading it, and it was like so unpleasant to read. And so I was like, it was so logical and not so creative.
So what was the difference? You answered to more questions?
Yes, I saw where I needed to like put in more information about me, and for me it was like adding like how to say in the last question is in the form where you fill in is about like the form in Ayana for the avatar, and in the last question is like tell us something special or not special, something you want the AI avatar to know about you, or it's something about. And I just added I'm a person who thinks that who loves to have fun and talking a lot in sarcasm, and from nowhere it started to like talk more like me, and also like the content it gave me. Yes, and it was like, okay, now I try to understand. Now I try to like what I'm reading is like me talking to me, and before it was like me talking to a computer, and everything was so like how to say squared. It was not at all so creative. It was more logical and like bum bum bum, and it was not fun at all to read.
That's a good feedback.
So I think that was really nice to like see how that changed by just adding things about me.
Nice. Yeah, that's the goal. So we are touching the goal. Cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think in the end, like what I would like best is to have multiple avatars that reflects like different cultures. So then I can talk to like multiple agents, right? Where I can ask a question, because the thing is, then you start to have an LLM that sounds like you, so it's very interesting. But then maybe you lose other aspects, right? It's like when you create a team, like I guess you want the team with the more diversity as possible. So then you have a huge amount of information, like because like everyone was raised in different countries, different ways, different cultures. So then everyone is bringing a lot of value just by that. So then at some point, maybe it will be nice to have like agents where there will be like multiple assistants that will reflect all of this diversity. So like they will just talk about a subject and then you will have a final answer. But then it will be nice to be able to see that.
In fact, when you think about it, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that if you just have someone like talking like you, I think it's a bit like when the social media was you know, when there is a new president like to be elected, I think they show that they try to do some clustering where, like, if you like a specific politic, you will see posts, etc., for that politics. So, and then like you're on Facebook or on Instagram,
Yeah.
and then you try to think, oh God, like everyone is thinking like me, while actually it's not true. It's just the algorithm like feeding you what you like. And I think this is kind of bad because,
This
and
is happening
I
all over
don't
the
want that
place.
in LLM as well.
This is what happened all over
Yeah,
the place.
but
I agree
yeah,
with you. I thought about this first when I was thinking about music and doing a music app. I like music, so I want to discover new stuff. And when you're on those kind of algorithm right now, you just have all the same stuff over and over again. It's not bringing you
yeah,
new stuff. So Spotify, and they started doing different aspect of this, but that's the same idea. And I want to go back on this you said, because you know, Abby, how we think about Abby, like this artificial business intelligence is like content, marketing, everything connected together. I think that effectively the IA business is the same thing. It's the IA personal assistant has multiple other agents kind of stuff that must be, because you're not the same person on LinkedIn, you're not the same person on YouTube, you're not the same person on Twitter, like you're not the same person where you're with this group of friends or with this other group of friends.
hmm yeah,
So the personality thing is much more complex than just one entity. It's always you in a context, and
hmm
and back to context and the importance of context. So yeah.
yeah. It's just that we need to like it's important to be able to talk to LLM while the LLM is still like very different than you, because like I think I would be bored to if I have a second me and I had to like just talk to that person, because
Depends.
same
It
knowledge,
depends the
same
context.
everything, and it would, yeah,
Because
yeah, of
if
course,
you want to
but
help you create more content on LinkedIn
yeah,
talking
then
about your
it makes
expertise,
sense.
then it makes sense.
Yeah,
If you want to discover new ideas, no.
it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so there is really like the use case. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you try to build an LLM that will help you in your daily tasks and job, I think it's good to have an LLM that sounds like you, that who's writing like you.
Yeah.
So then you just like you gain a ton of speed, like you gain a ton of time. But when you are in a process of like improving yourself or learning, etc.,
You want to go
yeah, it
outside of your
doesn't
comfort
doesn't
zone.
make sense. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think it will be fun if at some point, like we allow, like if I could talk to Bazira's AI or yours, like to see like what's the difference between like the real like interaction I have and the interaction I have with the AI. This will be fun.
Yeah. But if we all do our own AI well, on our own AI well,
Yeah.
and we have this feature that we already talked about shared conversation, we can invite the five of us AI
That will be
version to have a
hilarious.
conversation about whatever topic we launch to them. Like, let's talk about
Yeah.
bananas and figure out how many different ideas around bananas can we have.
Yeah.
That
Or
would
if you
be,
have your own AI not going your side, this will be the most fun.
yeah. Stop doing this. Yeah, and that's also the good funny stuff. Like at the end of the road, why do we want to bring trust? Why do we want to create feedback? It's because if tomorrow we offset our human capabilities to reason to something else that takes care of all our interaction on the digital space, it better be something that fits your like own vision, worldview, and stuff like that. I can't wait to
Yeah,
reach
yeah,
that point.
definitely.
We're not yet there, but I can't wait to reach that point. It's really like
But yeah,
fascinating. Then
it's a
we
fun
could go
journey.
back to walking in the woods.
I am already, but still have
I
a
know
lot of work
you
to do
already.
though.
Yeah, you're already advanced. You're already in the future, Max. All right.
I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, nice. Um, I think that's a good wrap. We can wrap it up. Anything you want to add, guys? No? Well,
I think I'm good.
I think we covered the main thing. We cannot go into the details of technical stuff. That's not the purpose. But to wrap it up, reinforcement learning with human feedback, good, but still can lie. Then RAG, that can help us like connect to more documents, and there RAG is a mechanism, as you said, Maxime, that connects to search, vector database, knowledge
Yeah,
graph. We can
live
dive around
data.
live data.
Mhm.
This is meant to give more trust so that we can trust the fact that we offset part of our work to those systems. And that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up now. I think that's the main thing.
That was a good wrap.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank
That
you
was fun.
guys. We are at episode
On Tuesday, next week.
7. We wanted this to be 10 episodes, so there's 3 more. I guess that you are in holiday next week, for the next episode, Max. So
Yeah, we'll
probably
be on
not have you.
PTO.
We'll provide like more information around industries. So we'll look at industries, the different industries, how they are like impacted. We'll look at the different jobs that can be impacted. We'll have some examples like this that are quite interesting. The UK Institute of Education made a very interesting studies about the jobs that can be replaced, the job that can be created. So we'll dive into this like market and human sociological impacts in the next 2-3 episodes. So looking forward to that. It's again very cool to have this conversation with you guys. I really appreciate those moments we take, and I hope it can be valuable for people as well, listening to us now or later in YouTube. So see you guys.
Okay.
And
See you.
let's talk at the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.